Everybody, we got the final countdown to ÖTILLÖ Show 0. We're 1 week out from ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship, and we have 25 plus tips for you to help you through the race. If you're doing it with us or you just want to know how to do it better, but don't worry, the tips aren't from us. They're from all the great people we've had on the show. So strap in and let's hear that theme music one last time. Welcome to the Low Tide Boys, a swimrun podcast. I'm Chip.
And I'm Chris, and this is episode 139 of the show. Chipper mentioned this is the last installment of our countdown to ÖTILLÖ, basically month 0. And in this episode, we're essentially going to go back and thank everyone who's helped us and given us insight, and we're going to share that insight with all of you. We've pulled these past episodes, and we got 25 plus tips from people who've raced it before, who've won it before, who
multi-time
really know what they're doing.
Yep.
So not from us, basically. And we're going to share all that accumulated knowledge with everyone who might be racing it or is thinking about racing it. So stay tuned for that.
So obviously we've been thanking them this whole time, but now that we're pretty much at the finish line, which is really at the start line of ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship, this all wouldn't be possible without our supporters. So obviously we love doing swimrun races, and our favorite race company is Odyssey Swimrun. We did their Casco Bay race. We're doing Austin later this year. Mackinac just happened this past weekend, and Orcas is just around the corner. So if you're looking for a swimrun race to do in the United States and you want to maybe get some points to qualify for the Swimrun World Championship, don't worry. Odyssey has 2 different merit races, and you can earn those crucial points for getting you there to the Swimrun World Championship. Now, of course, we've been leveling up our fueling game this year with precision fuel and hydration. Big thanks to Andy and the PFH team over there. We've had countless meetings and emails with them and the team, and they're doing everything they can to help us be prepared and have our bodies fueled for that long adventure we're going to have.
Every time we chat with them, I just picture Wayne's World, like the we're not worthy.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, we're so grateful. We've learned so much.
So much there. So we're excited to actually be racing with Andy Blow, is teammates with Lars van Onger. So there's Odyssey and PFH. They're on the same team. They're also during the World Championship, so it'll be really cool to share that.
And fun fact, the last time we all did a race together
was Catalina?
Catalina.
Whoa. Mind blown. That was
Feels like a long time ago.
And finally, our favorite carbon fiber swim paddles out there, Frank Paddle. Big thanks to Frederic. He's always been so cool to us and supporting us and send us the top carbon fiber paddles out there. We will definitely, you can count on it. We'll be racing with those for ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship, and it'll be great to meet Frederic in person as well.
Definitely.
So huge thank you for all of those companies and people who have supported us along the way.
All right, Chipper. How's the body? How's the mind, man? Thing is here. By the time this airs, we'll be like 4 days away, 5 days away from the race.
We'll be in Stockholm.
Yeah.
Technically, we will be in the flight. I think the body is feeling good. I mean, the haze in the barn. I've been throwing that phrase around a lot, and my wife's like, "What does that even mean?" I'm like, "Well, you put hay in the barn," and I didn't really know. I just know that we're ready to go. The workouts are in. We had a great...
You feel good about all the work you put in?
We had a lot of work, and I think, there's always going to be times when you had a good reminder for me a couple shows ago. I forgot exactly what it was, but you said, have you been more prepared for anything in your life? And I'm like, no, I haven't actually. So it's a great testament to our coach who's helped us put the work in there. And just packing up, getting ready to go. I think the mind is ready, excited, just kind of like let's just get it on. I'm ready to go. It's going to be a long day, but it's going to be a fun day too. And I think that'll be something that I was thinking a little bit more about this on my run today. listen to the episode, the Oscar the Course walkthrough, hearing that, probably listen to that a couple more times on our 14, 16 hour of travel from the west coast of the United States to the east coast of Sweden. But yeah, it's going to be a long day and it'll be a fun one. So I'm just ready to get out there and get it done. Get it going rather.
For sure, man.
What about you, Chris? How's the body? How's the mind?
So body's good. Yeah, I mean, I feel like in terms of preparation, I feel like I'm as prepared as I could be for it, except for the unknown. Could never be totally prepared for the unknown, but I'm sort of ready to embrace the unknown, I guess I should say. Studying the course a lot, and that's been really fun. And one thing I'd recommend, and I sent this to you, Chipper, I think it was like a week ago, the YouTube video of the 2015 ÖTILLÖ Swimrun World Championship, which is like 30 minutes long. It's like a little short movie kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
old
so
school.
good. It was old school, but still good. And it's like, a young Marika Wagner's in there, Jonas Kolting, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really interesting to see, like, same damn course, right? Everyone's having the same emotions. Everyone's on that same quest. And, and the gear stuff is really cool too. So if you want to nerd out on what the gear was like back then and how it's evolved, that's just really interesting, just as a nerdy side note there. But yeah, watching that just got me like so stoked as to, so this is kind of where my mind's at. It's like, hey, we've been preparing for this quest and it's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's here. We're going to go do it. It's going to be awesome. We're going to try to not get injured. We're going to try not to embarrass ourselves, all that stuff, right? Yeah. But it's like, hey, we get to run on the same course, all these people before us. And yeah, I mean, I was watching the 2019 video as well, which is much shorter. And, at the start line, it's like we recognize a lot of these people. So we've either interviewed them or we know who they are, or we've DM'd or whatever. So that's going to be cool too, to see all these people that we've been chatting about and sort of fanning over.
Absolutely. And just be out there and experience something that we've spent,
I mean, it's going to be wild.
February.
I mean, it's such a wild thing.
I am going to put a little thing at work. We had some memes going on. Trista and Amy, who are also going from the Adorkables, had the guy holding the sign. It said, "Nobody cares why you're out of office." I'm going to steal that and I'm going to drop it in Slack, but I'm also going to tell them just in case there is one. And, you always got to be hustling. Always got to get
those likes.
Always got to get the likes out there. So we're feeling ready. I'm stoked to explore a new city. I've never been to Europe. I've never been outside of North America, actually. So I'm really looking forward to hanging in Europe, getting as many Fikas as possible, seeing how bad a jet lag we can wheel ourselves into on the way out there. But I'm looking forward to meeting everybody.
I mean, the whole thing is an adventure.
It's going to be crazy.
And in many ways, similar when this is obviously like the A race of all A races, right? But when you feel like you've done the work, the race itself really becomes kind of like a victory lap, or at least that's how you should be thinking about it. Like, that's where everything you put in, that's where you get it, cash it out, basically. And for this race, because it's like there's like a cultural thing. I mean, it's just like, it's going to be so cool. And that, the 3 days from Sunday to Tuesday are going to be awesome, but the time before that is going to be also really, really great.
Yes, and we are actually attempting, and we are trying our damnedest to actually put our race report up that week. So we're bringing some travel podcast equipment, and we're going to record our race report, and we'll have it for you on Thursday. It'll be live Thursday in the United States time, Thursday, after the race on Monday. So we're going to work really hard to get that up and going for you all, so you can share in our experience.
It might be very stream of consciousness, and we'll see how it goes. Like, we definitely, so many people have been like supporting us, so we have to let people know how it goes. But if it's sort of raw,
we'll let it.
We'll
we'll
do a better one. We'll do like a polished one, like upon more reflection one or something.
So, but let's get into these tips. And, this is our kind of old crib notes, so to speak, when Chris and I would be interviewing these people kind of behind the scenes in Studio G here in my garage where we sit now. We'd be talking to Marika or the Monks or Bill Langford or Oscar Old, and they would just drop a nugget about ÖTILLÖ, And me and him would just look at each other and like, oh, like, hold on, like, write that down, write that down. And basically that's what this episode is all these little nuggets that we've kind of taken down as like super pro tips from people that aren't us, because we haven't done it. So we're not acting like we're pro about it.
Yeah. I mean, in many ways, I mean, we've said this before where we feel like this show, we sort of hacked our swim run IQ is super high just from interviewing this stuff. But, you know, the reason we started the show from episode 1 is like, none of this needs to be a secret. There's no reason why any of this stuff needs to be a mystery. So the more we get this out, the quicker the sport evolves, the more people get stoked on it. And then, I mean, this is also a way for us to really show gratitude for all the guests that have come on and just shared like a ton of knowledge with us.
So let's get started on 25 plus tips to have your best experience at ÖTILLÖ, the Swimrun World Championship. Chris, I don't think we can agree more, but Oscar Olsen is a great place to start on this.
Definitely.
Defending ÖTILLÖ Swimrun World Champion.
Course record holder.
Course record holder. All around nice guy, swimrun ambassador, all sorts of stuff. Back in episode 85, he was dropping tons of knowledge bombs because this is his course walkthrough. Great one to listen to on your plane ride. I know I'll be listening again. Okay.
Yeah, super popular episode. Actually, we heard after we recorded this from people like Bill Langford that they actually heard it multiple times because it was just chock full. So if you haven't heard that one and you're curious about...
We've probably missed 10 tips, but we have the ones that we know here.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the longer runs, know when you're going to get a swim leg when the gravel runs end. So it's very common in the Archipelago. When you come off these gravel roads, there's a little bit of nature to go through, if you will. So it'll turn into kind of your more wooded forest, it sounds like. And that's a good time to start cabbing up.
Yep. Taking a gel before the start of the long swim, specifically, the pig swim was one where he highlighted that's a good idea to take some nutrition there.
Yes. So ÖTILLÖ in previous years, and we assume it's the same this year, have strobe lights at the first swim and then the pig swim. So the two longest swims when you actually can't see the flag, they have these really high vis.
And I'd forgotten about that. So it's almost like, hey, you can't remember the islands. You don't know where you are. You see that second strobe. Congratulations, you've made it to the pig swim.
That is the pig swim. That's a good reminder there when you can't see the flag.
Yeah, and again, if this bears repeating, is also, and I quote, take a fucking gel. End quote.
Fuel. Oscar says fuel.
Fuel.
All right. He also suggests get moving after the pig swim to kind of warm up and shake off that hard swim. He says him and his partner usually will kind of be cold, even though they swam at a pretty good clip, because it is kind of a long swim there. So make sure you kind of get out and get some heat back into the body there.
Yeah, he also mentioned the benefit of sort of tethering on the long runs, just kind of stay in contact, see what's going on, help push your partner or pull your, push or pull depending on who's doing what when needed. And just a good way to stay in contact for some of those long runs.
Absolutely. Speaking of long runs, there's 3 specifically to be cabbing down for, according to Oscar. Namdura.
Runmara.
Okay, so there's 3 to be specifically cabbing down for because they're 8Ks plus.
Yeah.
So Runmara,
Numda,
and
Orna.
There we go. We got it there. So make sure you have those maybe marked out on your paddles to be ready to cab down for those ones.
Yeah, and then he mentioned, and this is like super insider tip here. He's like the last swim before you get to the last island of Uta. It's a short swim, but it can be really tricky. He suggested spending just an extra 5 seconds getting a sense of the current before you do this last swim, so it takes you 2 minutes instead of 8 minutes.
Yes. So that's it from Oscar Olsen. That's episode 85. Go back and check that if you want to hear more.
Solid gold.
Of course. Now we're going to transition to Marika Wagner, who was with us for episode 105. And she had a great tip. Not super tactical or anything like that, but enjoy the sunrise on that first swim.
Yeah.
The first swim's the longest one, and you're in an amazing place. And if you,
sun's rising,
if you love swim run, it's going to be a moment. So take a pause and enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that tip. In another interview where we spoke with Diane Sadiq, this is episode 112, she reiterated, and this is on purpose that we're doing this, eating every 30 minutes. And she also said, if the water's cold, switching up swims who's leading the swims early can help make sure that everyone stays warm. I thought that was a nice little tip there. Just as a good, I mean, these are all good reminders. You might already know this, but hearing it again, shoot us if you're mad at us.
Absolutely. So let's transition onto our friends, the Swimrun Monks. They've been on our episode, our show several times before, but this one specifically from episode 122, our 4-month out from ÖTILLÖ episode. Eat a lot. Hold on. I'm sensing a theme here. We've had 3 or 4 gel-related, fuel-related. If you're going to be out there for, Oscar, a little bit less time than the low tide boys, however long you're going to be out there, you need to eat. You need to have that body fueled.
Too long to just rely on nothing.
Yes.
Jenny Ramstead, also from episode 112, she recommended this, a little late for us, but she's like, if you have a chance, running the island of Orna outside of the race is a good idea. Just get a sense of what the terrain is like, kind of like a knowledge and power pro tip. We're not going to get the opportunity to do that, but I still think that's such proper advice. If you can do it.
If you can do it.
Just so you know what to expect.
And that's what we're going to try to do. We're kind of going to take this tip and parlay it a little bit and try to get out there in Stockholm and just do a little swim run around, see how the water's feeling, just
slip on some rocks.
Yeah, see how it's going. Now we're transitioning to Anna Lundberg, episode 118. This was from our 5 months out from ÖTILLÖ countdown show. Nämnda cutoff is one to pay attention to. So specifically that episode with Anna was not about what's the pointy in the pack doing. It's the people that are sort of chasing the cutoffs, if you will, and they're having a day out there, and the first few cutoffs are a little bit tight. So that was one thing she pointed out.
Yeah, and she also mentioned that if you can make the Nämnda cutoff, that basically if you get to Orno, you can actually walk Orno and still finish. So, if that's your strategy, you got to know you got to make that cutoff.
Yeah.
Oh, she also recommended getting your suit on and organized before going to the breakfast on race morning. That way you don't have to deal with it later. But we have even a more pro tip than that coming up. So we share that one if you're going to have breakfast there, but we have another tip for you.
Yes.
Stay tuned for that.
Bill, our good friend Bill Langford, and him and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. B, team Mr. and Mrs. B from episode 109. Bill had a great tip. Bring bag and luggage with wheels in it. Because you're not going to want to carry your bag around the day after doing this race. You're going to be all beat up, sore. Bring some wheels. Take it easy on yourself.
Bring your roller.
Take it easy on yourself. I'm doing it. I'm checking a bag.
Absolutely.
Great tip, Bill. Thank you.
Yeah, when we had the team Broderna Baver, Jonas and Lars Ekman back in episode 116, they actually had a bunch of stuff. They were like, visualize minimizing your transitions, so keeping it tight. Oscar also mentioned this. It's like, hey, there's so many transitions. If you're spending 3-4 minutes in each one, that's like an hour and a half or something.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Yes.
He also recommended doing the race before you think you're ready for it. So there with you, buddy. Check that one off the box.
Done. They also recommended pacing your swims in the first third of the race and try to find feet a little bit in the draft, because a good chunk of the swimming in the race of the 10Ks is going to be in that first half of the race. So if you are looking to preserve some swim energy, find some feet if you can.
Yeah, great tip. When we had Ville Engberg on, this was episode 119. I thought this was really well said. It's like, watch out for the swim that's after the pig swim, which is about a 600-meter swim, because that one is usually colder than the pig swim. So you might be like, okay, the hard swimming is done, but you just want to kind of
stay
keep
sharp.
Your mind right until
stay frosty.
Stay frosty.
Stay frosty, baby.
Definitely.
And again, Ville has another great suggestion, similar to the Beaver Brothers. Try to find a good pack to swim on with early on. So obviously earlier in the race, it won't be so blown up and spread out. So if you can find some teams to hang out with and do some swimming with, seems like a pretty good strategy for most people to employ, especially for a long race.
Totally. He also mentioned, and this was something that was echoed when we spoke with Jonas Kolting, that don't worry about running too much on the first few islands. Don't worry about that taking a long time. Those islands are super technical. So just make sure you don't slip. Stay on your feet and just get through it. And don't, if someone's flying by, like Billy goating by you, just let him go. Let him go. Just get through it.
In my head, my mantra for that when I see that happening, you do you, man. You do you. Just go do your thing. I'm going to do my thing.
Yeah, well, my old coach Nate Helming, we had on the show way back when. He used to always tell me, he's like, hey, if someone passes you early in the race for one of two reasons, they're better than you, and that's not your problem, or they're being really stupid, and you'll pass them later. So just run your race.
Yep, I like it. So Nicholas Ramirez, we've had him on a few times here in episode 126. He had the good tip of don't try to memorize every leg. Instead, think about the race in terms of 5 sections and kind of learn the features of each section from aid station or cutoff, whatever you're kind of optimizing your race towards, if it's to energy stations or if it is to those first bits of cutoff. I know Chris and I kind of have our own way that we've divided it up, but kind of chunk the race out, and that makes it a little bit more manageable. You're only tackling chunk 1 now or chunk 2 or 3. Great tip there by seasoned ÖTILLÖ racer Nicholas Ramirez.
Yeah, and that was also Oscar also echoed that as well. It's like, don't worry about learning all the island names.
Yeah. But easy for them to say. I don't have to worry about it because I can't read them anyway. So there you go.
When we had Andy Blow on, I thought this tip was super well taken. This was back in episode 118. He recommended not going to the breakfast on race morning. He said it's a mess. Instead, bring whatever food you're planning on eating and just eat it in your room. That way you don't have to deal with that. Don't deal with that stress energy. I mean, we've already decided that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And kind of not messing with it. And I thought it's like, hey, if you have a breakfast strategy that works for you, better to save all the,
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of pre-race nerves times you plus 300 of your favorite swim runners around. So that might be a lot for people to deal with on race morning. So if that sounds like something you're not interested in being a part of, bring your oatmeal packet, get your hard-boiled eggs or your coffee or whatever, and just nosh on it in the room.
Yeah, I love that tip.
Now over to Jonas Colting in episode 131. He had a great tip. I think we'll take this one to heart, Chris. Don't worry about doing a warm-up run before the race. Relax on the ferry, try to avoid that anxious energy, and use the first run as a warm-up. Now, the first run, if you didn't know, is a marshaled start. So there's like a quad that basically holds back all these tigers up front that are just they're ready to go and rip up the course. So it's holding everyone back, so you can kind of use the first one as a warm-up, and you got a nice long 1,600-meter swim to warm your shoulders up as well.
Yeah, it'll be plenty warm by the end of that. He also recommended to really just stay really focused on the swims and just get the swims done. Don't be sort of dilly-dallying on the swims. Like, go at whatever pace you can manage, hold it, and just go and get them done, which I think that's a good reminder for us. Like, I feel like we already do that at our race, whenever we race, but it's always good to hear it again. It's like, hey, if you're going to get cold, if you're going to get all weirded out, it's going to be because you're spending too much time in the water. Get through those swims, warm up on the runs, and do it again.
Yeah, getting through the swim will keep you warmer, too, because you'll be pressing.
Yep.
And last section of tips here from Susie Moonen from Envol Coaching and Push On Coaching as well. Episode 122, she had a lot of great tips there, especially on the mental kind of side of racing and everything. Love the episodes with Susie. Take a moment, look at your partner, and be present during the race. So on my run today, I was listening, and I was thinking we should do this a couple times during the race. And I think to start would be good. Like,
I feel like we do it to start. I try to do it with you at Casco.
Well, I didn't know what was going on. We weren't planning about it. And Chris looks at me. He's like, we're going to do it. I'm like, yeah, dude.
I was like,
let's
go.
Let's get the swim going.
Look at me. Anyway, for sure.
So look at your partner. Just have one pause, 1, 2 second, and just be in the moment, be present, have fun on the day.
Yeah, sort of related to that, my daughter, she's very excited that we're going to go do this race. She thinks we're going to win. I keep telling her, no, it's not happening. Also, it's not about winning, honey. It's about doing your best, so that whole thing. But he asked me to do something, which I don't think I'll be able to, but I was like, it kind of reminded me of this piece of advice, which she was like, hey, can you tell me something from every island that you went to?
Ooh.
Which I was like, damn, girl, that's a very interesting request. And I will try, like Orno might be like, oh yeah, I had this church or whatever, but I'm going to try because I think it'll put my head in being super present. It's like, okay, what is it about this island or what are features that I can see that I can try to remember? But yeah, Susie also mentioned, and I thought this was really well taken, and this is an episode I'm definitely going to hear again before the race, is when you feel low, remember why you're doing the race and focus on the belief that you can do this. Like, you've done hard things before. If this is hard, it's just another thing that you can do. And I think, this is going to be a major feat of endurance. And I think just reminding yourself is like, hey, we've done feats of endurance before. We've had low points before. We've gotten through it and
we've
just
made it out the other side of those. And
and just, supporting each other through this adventure, which, I think at the end of the day, that's what it is.
It's what it is. It's what we're doing.
What we're doing.
It's what we're doing. So we will see you all in Stockholm, Sweden in just a few short days.
Yep. You can follow along if anyone's interested, seeing how we're doing. We'll be posting stuff on our stories. And once we know like our bib number and stuff like that, you can track us.
Yeah. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at the Low Tide Boys with a Z. All of this stuff's on our website, lowtideboys.com. And obviously a huge bit of thanks and gratitude to everyone that's been listening and giving feedbacks and advice and just sending us any sort of message. We really appreciate it. And obviously our wives and our families,
Totally.
A lot of
not possible without
them. And we do try to get it mentioned every episode, but obviously huge thanks to the ladies, the Low Tide ladies. So see you
out there.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and leave a review, since that's the best way to help other people discover the show and the sport of swim run.
Sign up for a newsletter at lowtideboys.com. That's boys with a Z. And check out our meme page at the Low Tide Boys on Instagram. If you have any suggestions for the show or questions for us, send us a DM or an email at lowtideboys@gmail.com.
We'd like to thank Riding Easy Records for our show music, and of course our wives for their support and tolerance of all our swim run activities, podcast, and other stuff.
Yeah, other stuff. Way to keep it PG. Finally, you can support our efforts on Patreon. Until next time, get out there and go for a swim.
Go for a run.
Then another swim.
Then another run.
And then another swim.
And then another run.
And then just keep going. Until you're done.
Or maybe can't stop.